I don't believe that trickle down is bullshit. If these corporations are not using tax loopholes to avoid taxation, trickle down is bullshit when they are avoiding the taxation process that funds this whole marketplace.
In this video, we turn to a clip from Andrew Schulz and Charlemagne's podcast, Brilliant Idiots. Andrew Schulz and Charlemagne discuss money and corruption in politics. With that, let's watch Andrew Schulz tell Charlemagne exactly where the Democrats missed their opportunity to run a presidential candidate that couldn't be bought.
Doing the electric vehicles before he got political, he was just a superstar celebrity that everybody wanted to invest in, and whatever he touched turned to gold.
He's a genius. He's like the Tony Stark of our time.
Exactly.
Why not stay in that role and just continue to manipulate whoever you want to?
He got political. That's the thing.
But stay out of politics. You can be political and still be behind the scenes.
And that's what I wonder if he goes, this was a mistake.
I think so.
I don't know.
I would think so.
But it does frustrate me. Like, those types of things frustrate me. And it's like, I understand the feeling of like, how do you save more money and do that stuff for your business? I get it. But like, I wonder if we have these businesses that are making billions, trillions of dollars, right? I wonder if there's just like a bare minimum tax burden that you have to pay. Even if you can
have to.
Like, if you have X amount of employees, you have to pay bare minimum, 20 billion, whatever it is, or 10 billion. I don't even know what the fucking numbers of these.
It's a flat rate. You should have to pay something, especially if you claim to care about people.
That's it.
If our tax dollars are supposed to go to programs and infrastructure, why would you have a problem paying that?
And the government is going to fuck it up. But at least I don't resent you for getting around the system that I'm not allowed to get around. You know what I'm saying? The government will find a way to be inefficient about it, the same way that we don't got a fucking rail line in California, the same way that they don't have the railway in Hawaii, the same way that the BQE is still fucked up over here. God. The government will find a way to fuck it up, yes.
Yeah.
But bare minimum, you're in this with us.
I do have an idea though. If you don't want them to pay taxes, they should have to donate a certain amount of money.
They'll just run it through
their own corporations. That's the thing.
But no, they should have to donate it to
a charity they're not related to?
Yes, exactly.
They'll take over
Programs,
whatever the charity
is. They should have to.
They'll have the charity owned under a trust.
But this has been the American philosophy, especially among the Republicans since Reagan, which is what we're talking about is trickle-down effect, right?
Trickle-down economics.
The whole philosophy is if you handcuff these companies and if you handcuff these CEOs, they won't be incentivized or they won't have the ability to create jobs and to create businesses, and then that will trickle down negatively because there won't be as much jobs created and much money in circulation. And if you give them free reign, it'll trickle down positively. They'll create so much wealth and so much money and put so much stuff in circulation.
Well, we know that's not true, though.
Well, of course, I think trickle down is bullshit, but I think we're at the moment.
Sorry, go.
I hope we're at a moment when people see people hold on to wealth.
Yes.
I know I sound like a Democrat saying this, but wealth inequality is a serious consideration, I think, right now, because you really do have about 10% of the population, like the stock market, for instance. Participation's at an all-time high, but you've basically got 10% of the population owning 90% of the stock. So it's rarely Main Street that's moving the stock market, if ever. It's essentially at the whim and the emotions of billionaires and the very wealthy. And I said I'd sound like a Democrat, but as long as corporations are paying their fair share of taxes based on our tax law and they're following the law, I have no problem with it. If there are loopholes or things that need to be closed, which I do believe that there are, then that needs to be voted on. And that would be a way to make corporations pay their fair share. But this whole idea of once you're over making a certain amount of money, you have to pay some giant lump sum or 90%, like Sam Cedar would say, is ridiculous, because it's once people reach just beneath that threshold, they're going to stop generating revenue, because why would they work 10 times as hard to make the same money? It really doesn't make any sense. Let's get back to the video.
I don't believe that trickle down is bullshit. If these corporations are not using tax loopholes to avoid taxation, trickle down is bullshit when they're avoiding the taxation process that funds this whole marketplace. And I think that's the issue here. It's like,
pay your share and then be greedy after you pay your share.
Yeah, be greedy as you want, as long as you're paying the piper.
Right.
That'd be awesome. What they do is their greed, which is a human thing. That's not specific to them. If we were in that position, we would do it, of course.
Yeah.
And a fiduciary responsibility to the shareholders. But like, I think that if they were paying what is quote unquote their fair share, yes, maybe it would stop growth a little bit. But you know what it might inspire?
Talk that liberal talk, bro.
No,
Talk that.
when you were down,
We're talking a little socialism here. We're talking a little social
talk, bro. Come on,
little
young
socialism.
Bernie. Let's go, young Bernie.
I love Bernie.
Let's go.
You know I love
No,
Bernie.
you fuck with Bernie.
I've been
Come on.
Bernie since
Come on.
day one. I
Come on.
love that shit.
Come on, Andrew O'Course. What's her name?
Ocasio-Cortez. I'm AOC.
AOC.
I'm AOC. But you know, I've always been about this shit.
No, that's true.
You know, I just don't want them to cut off the kids' school, man. Is that?
But
That's fair.
You guys keep focusing on taxes. What about wages and salaries? Like no one.
That's another thing.
I think that's even bigger than the avoiding of the taxes.
I
because
think
CEO pays keep going up.
Can we ask a real
salaries
question?
stay stagnant?
You're right.
Yeah.
Andrew's right. We're all right. Are we ever going to really elect officials that are going to actually do those things? And is corporate America going to ever get out of these politicians' pockets enough
We're
for a
almost there.
politician to really
We're
be able to
almost
cook?
there. And then
You think so?
then your Democrats stole that shit from my boy Bernie. We're almost there. And then you with your hot sauce and Hillary and all the whatever. Oh, look at your hot sauce. Oh, you're so cool. You try to give her saxophone.
I'm going to be totally honest with you. You're right.
Thank you.
I've said that already. I'm on record saying that 2016, there was an organic groundswell for Bernie Sanders. And people are even coming out for Bernie now, but in 2016, there was an organic groundswell for Bernie Sanders. Just like in 2008, it was an organic groundswell for Barack Obama. And we should have went where the people went. The only reason I didn't get behind Bernie, the way I
If you like watching videos like this one, like and subscribe. We'd really appreciate it. Let's get back to the video.
probably should have when the Killer Mikes and Nina Turners and everybody was telling me to, was because they told me that he couldn't win. That was the sentiment from and not just, I'm just talking about the media.
Oldest trick in the book.
Was saying he can't win, he'll never win, blah, he won't
Oldest trick in
win,
the
he
book.
won't win, he won't win, he won't win.
He said about Trump.
He won't win when the system is rigged.
But it was time for that. It was time for a senator from Vermont who's not really a DC person. It was time for the executive producer, celebrity prince. People wanted something different.
Drastic change.
Drastic change. And we went too far with the drastic change, if you ask me. But yeah, Bernie should have been the guy. But you know, it is what it is.
How about, you want to know some real shit? If Bernie was at least the nominee, the way, even if he lost to Trump, which he might have lost to Trump is like an incredibly like engaging personality, and usually the person with more charm is going to win. But Bernie's policies and the way that they touch the working class people of the United States of America
Absolutely.
would have pulled Trump.
I appreciate that Charlemagne, unlike most Democrats, can say, you know, I was wrong. Because what they're referring to is when Hillary Clinton came in the Breakfast Club and Charlemagne interviewed her, and they said, what do you keep in your purse with you that you have to have all the time? She goes, hot sauce. That's like a stereotype in the Black American community that, you know, Black people love hot sauce. I mean, she was pandering like crazy, and Andrew Schulz is saying, man, you should have gotten on her about that. But I appreciate Charlemagne acknowledging that he made a mistake there. I'm not a fan of Bernie at all, but 2016 Bernie-Hillary situation does remind all of us how the Democrat Party is anything but democratic. They install people, like they installed Hillary, like they installed Kamala Harris. People wanted Bernie. And I think, actually, if he had been Trump's opponent, Andrew makes a great point about charisma. I think Trump still would have won, but I think the Democrat Party would be in a much different place by now because they would see that Bernie Sanders' messages, which aren't all this woke crap, which aren't flying to El Salvador, they'd say, hey, you know, this resonated with people. Let's stay on this track, which is way more center from where they are right now. Now, of course, it's too far left for me, but I don't think the Democrat Party would be in the shambles that it's in right now had Bernie run in that election. This is like an epiphany to me. It's the first time I'm kind of thinking how the timeline would have changed had Bernie run, win or lose, hopefully lose, because I would not have wanted him as the president. Anyway, let's wrap up the video.
Into a position where he would also have to address those working class people. It would have changed Trump's policies to mirror Bernie's in a way.
Bernie
and
shit
that
ain't even-
alone could have helped.
Bernie not even radical, bro. free healthcare, education, maybe a universal basic income.
No,
Like,
that's
what-
crazy. You're acting crazy, man.
Well, what's the difference? Okay, let me ask you a question.
It takes time to get to these things.
Sure,
like,
but what's
yeah.
the difference between a universal basic income and freaking stimulus checks? Or Elon Musk saying, hey, we're going to find all of these savings from Doge and give out $5,000 to the American people? What's the difference?
Well, the idea of universal basic income is that you're going to get
Everybody getting an
income.
extra $500 a month that need it? Not everybody, but people that need it get an extra $500.
Well, we do that.
$1,000 a month?
We do that.
Not
called welfare.
Sort of, kind of, but not like this. Not where you just say, hey, in your check every month is an extra $1,000. And if you can keep all of these corporations from stop being greedy and not price gouging and all that other shit, people are really getting some extra money in their pocket. What's wrong
Why
with
don't
that?
you just make sure these
I don't know if there ever becomes a point where we have universal basic income, but Andrew is right. I feel like a certain part of the population has it right now. If you live in this country and you decide you don't want to work, the government will give you money and be your daddy. So there are plenty of people that are getting universal basic income, not just for themselves, but for generations of their family. And that's really sad. As I was saying, the trajectory of the Democrat Party would have changed with Bernie. As I was thinking about that, I do think he had more support, and I absolutely stand by the fact I think Hillary was installed. But I'm remembering all of his policies. He's so socialist. He definitely wouldn't have won because, thank goodness, socialism is still a bad enough word that normal people realize that's crazy. And I said, oh, they might not be as woke and progressive as they are now. But while Bernie's not necessarily the biggest woke guy in the world, I forgot he's super aligned with AOC and the losers in the squad, as they call it. So I take that back. I actually don't think the Democrat Party would be as in much shambles as they are now, but their policies would probably look the same, if not wackier, far left, because Bernie and the Democrat Party would have had influences like AOC and the squad. But we want to hear from you. What did you guys think about this conversation between Andrew Schulz and Charlemagne? Let us know in the comments. Anyway, as always, really appreciate you watching, and we will see you in the next one.